Friday Take is about to start. The opinions on the show are the opinions of the host and the guest on Friday Take alone. These opinions do not represent KZLX, Northwest Missouri State University, or Bearcat Athletics. Enjoy the show. And welcome in to Friday Take. I am Devin Albertson. Just got off coffee break. I'm just talking about my life a little bit. Also with Jacob Blair, and I'm the host on the show. As now it's time to talk about some sports here on the Friday Take. I am Devin Albertson. Hope everybody's enjoying their Fridays so far. We're going to go through a quick rundown to start the show. What's going on in Bearcat Athletics right now. And if you look at today, we have baseball games at noon and 3 versus Northern State over at Bearcat Field. We'll have both those games here on KZLX. The first one will be Kramer Sandstone on play-by-play and Austin Hall on color. And then the second game will be Austin Hall doing a solo broadcast at 3 o'clock. And men's tennis will be at Southwest Baptist along with women's tennis. Those matches will start at 1 o'clock. Softball will also be at Southwest Baptist tonight. Doubleheader at 2 and 4. So that's what's going on today in Bearcat Athletics. Tomorrow track will be at Emporia State for the relays. It'll take all day. Men's tennis at Lindenwood, as well as men's start at 9:30. Women's matches start at 11. Softball will be at Central Missouri for doubleheader, noon and 2. Men's tennis at Washington University at 3 as well. So a little bit of a busy weekend there for tennis and softball and baseball doubleheader today. So a lot of good stuff happening. Should be nice by the time the games start for baseball this afternoon. But, of course, we kind of talked about this a little bit during weekend sports kickoff this past week. Also on the story behind the story on KNWT, but not really a whole lot on X106. So I'm just going to hit on Austin Meyer being hired as the women's basketball coach for Northwest Missouri State. Congratulations to him. I'm glad that he got the hire. So glad he was the best candidate available. So glad Northwest was able to get him. And I know he had offers from other schools for even men's jobs, and he took this women's job over it. So I think he values Northwest and everything they can do here for the Bearcats and what they can do for this university. He's been here for 10 years as an assistant, 2 more as a grad assistant, and also played here for 4 years as a basketball player for the men's program. So Austin Meyer, a Bearcat through and through. Glad he got the job. Still not happy with the way Buck Scheel was relieved of his duties, but it's one of those deals where you can be not happy with how the previous regime was treated, but still look forward to the current regime. I did the same thing with the San Francisco 49ers in football. I was not okay. I liked Chip Kelly a lot, and I thought he got a raw deal out there in San Francisco. But after they fired him, they hired Kyle Shanahan. That's worked out pretty well ever since. It was one of those deals like, yes, I think you fired the wrong dude, but you came in, you hired someone who's competent, so it all worked out. So that's kind of how I look at it for Northwest and hiring Austin Meyer. I think he's going to be a really good coach here at Northwest. He's a really good recruiter, so we'll see who he can bring in as recruits to this program, kind of install some energy into it. They have 3 seniors coming back for next year, Mallory McAndrews, Kaylani Mayava, and Maria Dentlinger. And they also have a bunch of sophomores coming back with Mallory McAndrews, Kylie Coleman, among others there for the women's basketball team. Also Zoe Hayward. Trying to think of all the girls on the team right now. Also Mia Stillman and Mallory McConkey. So that's on the roster right now for the Bearcats. And I expect some recruits to come in as well to help push the people who are already here get a little bit better. So that's what we're kind of looking at here with the women's program. They've had a couple of down years. So we'll see how they kind of transition throughout their time here at Northwest and see if they can improve a little bit on their skills and see if they can get to the middle of the conference in the MIAA and put a good product on the court. I think they can do that with Austin Meyer at head coach. So I'm really excited to see what is to bring for Northwest there. Also want to remind you the spring game is coming up for football. I believe the spring game is in a couple of weeks. Actually, 2 weeks from yesterday, April 12th, will be the spring game. I think it starts at 6 o'clock. We will be broadcasting that here on X106. I'm putting Trevor Mater in charge of it, so I won't have a whole lot to do with it, but it should be a fun time there for Northwest as the spring game will take place on April 12th. At 6 p.m. over at Bearcat Stadium. So that's what it is right now. It could change due to weather and stuff like that, but that's what we're planning on right now, is covering the spring game for the football team. Should be a fun time there for the Bearcats, and also a good time for guys if you want to see what the broadcast is going to sound like next year for football season. You can kind of take a stop for a second, see what's going to be like with those guys broadcasting the games. A little different because it's a spring game, so the format's always a little bit funky, so it could be a little bit choppy for a broadcast, but you kind of get to see the guys who will be on air coming this fall and see what they're going to bring to the table. Also remind you that we're in the middle of a home stretch here for the baseball team. Next Tuesday, they have a home game versus Nebraska Cardinals. It starts at 3 o'clock. We'll be broadcasting that game here on X106. And then a Friday, Saturday, Sunday series versus Central Missouri, who's a really good team down out of Warrensburg. Friday game will be at 3, the Saturday game at 2 o'clock, and the Sunday game at 1. So that's what the schedule looks like right now. And then they'll have a game the following Wednesday at Missouri Western, and then they'll have a Friday, Saturday series again at home versus Pitt State at 3, 2, and 1 for each one of those days as well. So baseball, not having to leave Maryville very much now for being gone from the university for much of the start of the season, only having just a couple of home games in the month of February. Now they have a lot of home games here. And when it gets a little bit warmer in Maryville, so I'm sure they're proud, they're happy about that. They're going to be in town. Well, it's starting to get a little nicer out. Of course, yesterday was opening day for Major League Baseball. I don't really have a whole lot to say about that. I know Giancarlo Stanton hit a couple of home runs. Also did the well-known name of Matt Davidson for the White Sox torched the Royals last night, hitting 3 bombs. So we'll get to that stuff later. We'll have more baseball talk in the weekend sports kickoff this afternoon from 2 to 5. That will not be on the radio since the baseball games will be going on. That broadcast will be on KNWT Facebook Live, so you want to find us there. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at X106_sports. We'll retweet the link to that so you guys can jump on and watch us on you can see our faces while we talk at that time. So no radio. We'll have a lot of non-radio broadcasts the rest of the semester because of baseball games. There's a lot of baseball games. We really like calling those baseball games. We want to get you guys that content while still doing our show, which is why we're doing it on Facebook Live now. So make sure you tune in for that and join me as well as Brian Elliott, Jacob Blair, and others on the show. No Trevor Mater today as he's had to other things come up, so he will not be on the shows this afternoon. That's kind of where we're at right now. The NBA season is coming to a close. Teams are around Game 75 of an 82-game season, so only about a week left in the regular season. We'll get to that after the break. Also, the NFL making some rule changes and also some other decent storylines coming up, whether it's the draft or free agency. So we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about everything going on in the world of the NFL and all the stuff happening there here on Friday Take. And welcome back into Friday Take. I am Devin Albertson. I hope you guys are enjoying your Friday morning so far. It's 9:15 here in Maryville as it's time to talk about all the stuff happening in the NFL right now. We've been off for over 2 weeks now, and so it's a lot of stuff's happened with the world of football. Right now, one thing that's a good feel-good story before I start my other rants here is Griffin out of UCF, the linebacker with only one hand. He said the nation is behind him after his pro day, and he's going to actually attend the draft in person, so that'll be enjoyable. That's in less than a month away. I know graduation for seniors. For seniors out there, I'm going to make your day a little bit happier. 29 days, 4 hours, 44 minutes, and 4 seconds till graduation. That's a 2 o'clock graduation, too, so if you're in the 10 a.m., take off 4 hours there, and you're pretty much the same thing. So a lot of good things happening here on campus, and then the draft starts that Thursday, so a lot of good stuff will be happening in about a month between graduation and the NFL draft, so a lot for me to look forward to. Also, now some other things that I kind of want to get into. Some of the Wonderlic scores for the NFL quarterbacks have been leaked or released because kind of their Middlecoff released them for Fox Sports. He was able to get a hold of them, and he said he likes to release them. That way people out there have a knowing kind of what these quarterbacks did. And the top 5 draft quarterback prospects, he released their Wonderlic scores based what he knows, what he's been given for information. Josh Allen scored a 37, which is really high. It's a scale of 50, so we kind of hear hit and miss there kind of. Other guys who have scored 37, Tony Romo, Andrew Luck, Colin Kaepernick. So it's a couple of 37s in there. The highest score that we've seen, that I've ever seen, is Ryan Fitzpatrick out of Harvard hit a 48, Blaine Gabbert hit a 42, Alex Smith a 40, Carson Wentz a 40 as well, Eli Manning a 39, Stafford at 38. So you get that high, it's kind of the best of the best. Aaron Rodgers had a 35 here and there. Tom Brady hit a 33, Steve Young a 33. So, but usually for quarterbacks, the average is about 24. But if you can hit over that 20 to 22 range, you're usually pretty solid, which is where Josh Rosen, Darnold, and Mayfield all come in nicely. Rosen at 29, Darnold at 28, and Mayfield at 25. So no red flags come up with those three guys. This is more of a thing, like if you do really poorly on it, as a quarterback in particular, they're going to throw some red flags up, because the winner test is all about quick decisions and be able to think on your feet a little bit and be able to digest information quickly. So that's one thing quarterbacks have to do in the NFL. So it's another thing. While a 37 is great, it's not. None of these signs say like, oh, you know what? If you have a 37, he's going to be great. We've seen guys who have 37s who've been really good and been average at the same point. So as we have to deal with there, and also guys with 25s, 28, 29s can be good. I think last year Patrick Mahomes had a 24, and now quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. So it's kind of interesting. I know even Deshaun Watson had 20, which isn't great, but you know what? It's still high enough they're not throwing up red flags and stuff like that with it as well. So it's another thing to kind of look forward in all that stuff. But right now, not great news if you're a Lamar Jackson supporter for the draft. He scored a 13. I'm going to pause there. A 13, that's not good. Pair that with he has some accuracy issues coming out of Louisville, and he refuses to run the 40 time, thinking that, you know, if I run the 40 time, people won't draft me as a quarterback because they don't think I'm a quarterback. Well, I don't think personally, I think he'd be better fit in the NFL as a wide receiver. I get why he's trying to be a quarterback first, but at the same point, all this stuff that I'm seeing right now leads me to think I am not drafting Lamar Jackson as my quarterback in the NFL. Not in the first round at least, but I think he's going to go in the top 15 picks, which will just be insane because the demand for quarterback is so high that they're going to reach for a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, who I don't think will be a quarterback in 2 years. So I don't think Lamar Jackson is a good enough quarterback to be NFL ready. I know people are going to say as soon as the winner comes on, someone has a low score. Yeah, but you know what? Some other good quarterbacks have gotten low scores. Terry Bradshaw had a 16. Dan Marino had a 16. Donovan had a 15. Jim Kelly had a 15. Yes, but a lot of those came before people really prepared for the Wonderlic. So if you still get a bad score and you prepared for it, not a great. Like the only guy in the past 20 years or so who has had a bad Wonderlic score and been a good quarterback for a decade is Donovan McNabb. Other than that, it's been a lot of failures with the low scores there, especially a 13. I get, you know what, if you get a 20, you know what, that's fine. I really don't care. You've become average at it. I mean, people have gotten 20s in the past few years. Derek Carr, Jake Locker, Teddy Bridgewater, Michael Vick. So it's a mixed bag there, but you know what, it's like, you know what, 20, and you're usually in a decent position there not to fail and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I look at for quarterbacks is like, you know what, just don't fail. Like last year, Brad Kite at a 34, Nathan Pearman at 33. Some guys that you guys know, Mitch Trubisky at 25, Mahomes at 24, Watson at 20. I mean, that's fine. I mean, so it's not a big deal for me. But here's the active quarterbacks who have won a Super Bowl in their Wonderlic scores. Eli Manning, a 39. Aaron Rodgers, a 35. Tom Brady, a 33. Drew Brees, a 28. Russell Wilson, a 28. Joe Flacco, a 27. And Ben Roethlisberger, a 25. That means the average Super Bowl winning quarterback has a score of 30.7. And if you include Manning's 5 times and Eli Manning's twice, the average goes up to 32.3. So usually guys who win Super Bowls are really intelligent guys and know can grasp a playbook and stuff like that. I just don't know if Lamar Jackson can do that at this point, and just stuff like that. And people are like, well, Brett Favre got a 22. Yes, a 22 and a 13 are completely different scores. A 13 is just terrible. The lowest score I've ever seen is Vince Young, and he scored, I think it was a 6. Yeah, 6. They reportedly he retook it and got a 15. So even a 15, not great. And he struggled to grasp the playbook. And he tried to use his legs too much in the NFL and it didn't work out. I know part of that was also Jeff Fisher as his head coach, but I digress from there. So if Lamar Jackson go to a coordinator who's really good and they can mold it, maybe he'll be good. But he also had Bobby Petrino in college, and he's one of the better quarterback minds, and he still couldn't complete 60% of his passes. So I am not a Lamar Jackson believer at quarterback next level. I hope he proves me wrong. I don't want any of these guys to be bust, but I just don't see him as a world-class quarterback, and I don't get him not running the 40. If you can run a 4.3 or faster, do it. What's the worst thing? Like, oh, you know what? He's really fast. Like, you know what? We know how fast this guy really is. He's one of the fastest guys in the league. So we're going to take a flyer on him at quarterback. If it doesn't work out, we'll take him at receiver, which I think teams will anyways. Because I think he could be a really good receiver in the NFL because he's that fast. He's that elusive. I just don't know if he has the ability to throw from the pocket at a consistent rate in the NFL like you need to beat NFL defenses. So that's just kind of the way I see Lamar Jackson. I just don't see him succeeding in the NFL with his current style of play. So that's just one thing I found was interesting with some of that stuff. So I think 20s is what you want to look at for at least that borderline. If you're close to it, fine. And it's not a be-all end-all. It's not like, you know what, if you get a really high score, it means you're going to be a good quarterback. No, it does not mean that. Ryan Fitzpatrick had a 48. So it's not a end-all, be-all of one of these. But it's another thing to put into the evaluations. You have the Wonderlic score, you have the combine, you have pro days, you have tape, you have interviews with the players, you have all this stuff. And everything that I've seen, I would not take Lamar Jackson in the first round. I think all this, I just don't think he's going to be a good quarterback in the NFL. Maybe I'm wrong. If I am wrong, definitely call me out on it because I was an idiot. But you know what? I just don't believe in him as a quarterback in the NFL going forward. My quarterback for the top four, I think Darnold will be the best one. I have Rosen 2, followed by Mayfield, and then Allen. So that's who I have for my top four quarterbacks. And I'd also probably put Rudolph at 5 from Oklahoma State. So that's my top 5 quarterbacks in this year's draft. I don't even have Lamar Jackson there. I think he's just a bit overrated by everybody else in the national scale right now. And he might get some pushback as what he's done lately with the not running during his pro day or combine and the Wonderlic score and all that stuff. He might get some pushbacks, but who knows what's going on right there with him. So I still don't understand the mindset of, you know what, I'm not going to run the 40, even though it's probably my best asset is my ability to run. So he told his time to run his game tape should tell the NFL teams all they need to know about his speed. So that's kind of what he's saying there, which I understand that, but at the same point, it's like, you know what, just run the 40. You'll be done in 5 seconds tops. I mean, you'll be done soon, so I don't understand why you wouldn't run the 40. So I'm not a big believer in Lamar Jackson at quarterback in the next level. A guy who played quarterback a little bit in the NFL, then had to drop out of the league due to substance abuse issues and trying to make a comeback right now, Johnny Manziel. And I know a lot of this will get comparisons to Colin Kaepernick and him trying to make a return. Just a couple of things I want to say about this, the difference between Johnny Manziel and Colin Kaepernick. Johnny Manziel had a substance abuse issue problem, also has been diagnosed with bipolar disease. I do believe in second chances. I do believe Kaepernick should have got a job in the NFL. But at the same point, Johnny Manziel is not suing the owners, and his girlfriend did not call one of the owners a racist and a slave owner, actually, and their best player in their franchise history, and Uncle Tom. So that's one big difference between Manziel and Kaepernick. You can't have it both ways. If you're a Kaepernick fan, you can't be like, he should be in the NFL, then also sue the NFL while calling one of their owners a slave owner. So again, I know he didn't, but his girlfriend did, and that's pretty darn close with that stuff right there. So, and Johnny Manziel, if he does come to town, there'll be a media circus, but it won't be a protest outside your door. It's not bad for business if you bring in Johnny Manziel as a backup, who will take, right now, from what I'm hearing from Manziel, is he'll take next to nothing to get back in the NFL and just get a shot. I don't think he'll get back in the NFL. I think he has to go to CFL first up in Canada to get his legs back underneath him for teams to trust him again. So I don't know if Johnny Manziel's a good quarterback in the NFL. I have no idea. He played for the Browns, who are a mess, and I don't think he didn't have predictable size or arm strength, so it would be an uphill battle for him. But if he has his life in order and he wants to make a comeback to the NFL, don't hold it against him that Colin Kaepernick does not have a job. I don't understand this logic of, well, if Manziel gets one before Kaepernick, is just irate. It's like, no. They have way different stories and ways back to the NFL. Manziel, if he goes through the stuff he's thrown at pro days for colleges who don't have quarterbacks who are going to the NFL draft. So University of San Diego and Texas A&M, people made a big deal of the San Diego one. It's like there were 13 scouts there to watch the talent for San Diego, and Johnny Manziel showed up to throw to him. That's all it was. Like, it wasn't a big thing. Like, they didn't come like, oh, Johnny Manziel's going to be there, so we're going to be there. Like, that's not what happened. It's just he was there. Like, you know what? He has a little bit left in him. Well, and that just sparks their interest. That's all you need is sparking your interest. So why didn't Kaepernick go to one of these colleges and work out with their athletes and say, you know what? I'll do a pro day with you guys. Is it conventional? No. But Manziel's doing his hardest to get a job back in the NFL, and he's making an effort and meeting teams in the middle or even going past that to try to get their attention. That's why he threw it Texas A&M to Christian Kirk and their receivers. And it was all 32 teams were there because Kirk's a really good receiver, and he's really the guy they were there for. Manziel just happened to also be throwing. So that's one thing I wanted to say there was, it's nothing. You can't compare the two because their stories are so different and their points in their life are completely different. Manziel, he's trying to make a comeback and just trying to get on a roster. And if he doesn't, he'll say to go to the Canadian Football League. Kaepernick's never made that sentiment. He wants to be a starter. He wants to be paid starters money. He didn't want to go to Canada. That makes it difficult to find a team that fits all those criteria. And Johnny Manziel's like, I just need a job. I'll be a backup. I'll carry water bottles. I mean, that's just kind of the way I see it between those two. Anyway, I don't care about the protest. We've been through all that. I don't care. I don't care if you protest or not. Like, if you do, that's good for you. I'm glad you stand up for something that you believe in. And I don't understand the pushback completely of, oh, I'm going to stop watching the NFL because the players are kneeling. I think they're lying. I don't think you're actually turning off the NFL because one or two players is kneeling on the sideline of the national anthem. I don't think that's ridiculous. You're going to give up the NFL because a couple of players don't agree with your worldview? That's just dumb. Both ways. And then people boycotting because Kaepernick didn't have a job? Okay, bye. I mean, I don't understand each side of this. Everybody's just idiotic in this entire story, and it drives me insane. I'm there to watch football. If you want to do other stuff, good for you. I see why the NFL doesn't like it because, you know what, it's not great. And you're a business trying to sell, be as profitable as possible. So if there's something not making you as profitable, you try to make changes to it. You've seen that this week with the rule changes, which we'll transition to here, with the catch rule being changed to possession, 2 feet in either a third step or a football move, such as diving for the end zone or the line to gain. So the whole falling to the ground aspect is now a football move, I guess, after the 2 steps. And if you're reaching forward for something, that will now count for a football move. And so right now the Jesse James catch versus Pittsburgh would be a catch. People saying that Zach Ertz catch is now a catch, but it was always a catch in the Super Bowl. I don't understand that. When people are like, well, this is like the Jesse James catch. No, he took out a slant, took 2 steps, and then dove for the end zone. That's different than catching the ball on the ground and then twisting as you're catching it to go. That's 2 different things, but I digress here. I think the catch rule will be simplified. It's never going to be perfect because I think people, whether your team is going to have the catch or not, is going to have a biased opinion of whether it's a catch or not. So it will never be perfect, but I think they made a step in the right direction. And as soon as the NFL does something right with a rule like the catch rule, they do something completely stupid like this targeting rule they're putting in the NFL right now, which is just absolutely idiotic. I don't have it pulled up right now, but they're going to make a rule so that if you lower your head, you are subject to an ejection. Well, you might see 30 ejections because, you know what, every single NFL play, there's someone lowering their head. Literally everyone. You ever seen a quarterback sneak? What does a quarterback do when he takes a snap? He lowers his head and pushes through the pile. Could he be ejected for that if he makes contact with another player? You see a guard pulling around the outside and goes head on with the linebacker. You know what, they both lower down to brace for impact. They both get ejected for lowering their heads. A running back goes to the middle of the hole and meets a linebacker. Bam. One of them lowers their head. They automatically ejected. So you're telling me Ryan Shazier this past fall, when he had his awful injury that he's been out for and he's still rehabbing from for his spinal injury, he would have actually been ejected from that game for his hit? It was a complete freak accident. I get you want to make the game safer for the younger generation. You have to do that to try to keep having players come through your league. But at the same point, I hate to break it to people, but the NFL is inherently a violent game. It's a violent game. Get over it. At the same point, I know we need to worry about player safety and do all this stuff as possible, but at the same point, trying to take all the violence out of the game is not going to work. It's not going to work. The game is violent. Even the targeting rule, like the personal foul calls we have now in the NFL for defenseless receivers, are ridiculous. You see guys, they'll catch the ball, get hit right in the chest with a shoulder pad, and they'll throw a flag for unnecessary roughness. What? It's football. Come on now. I get you want to hit player safety, but at the same point, especially at the NFL level, these guys are getting paid a lot of money. They have pensions. They have a union behind them. I get that. But you made an inherent decision. No one's making you play in the NFL. I've heard many former players say this, like, I knew the risk when I got into it, but where else can I get a $5 million paycheck for a year? You think all the people who work in coal mines are happy about the working conditions? No. But you know what? They need to make money for their family, and that's a lot less lucrative than playing in the NFL. So I don't understand some of this stuff, and the college targeting rule is already terrible. They already get that wrong half the time, at least. It's a clean hit. They review it, and like, you know what? It's still targeting. No, it's not targeting at all. The rule is so, I get the spirit of the rule, I get the intent of the rule, but it is so poorly implemented in real life scenarios that it's such a joke at this point. And for college games, you have 85-man rosters. You know what, a guy gets ejected, it's going to hurt our team. We can bring someone else in, we'll be fine. In the NFL, you have 53-man roster and only 45 are active on game day. If you get a safety who's hurt and another one gets ejected for targeting on a crappy call, you're down to like the next, maybe one backup, maybe. And you're going to have linemen be ejected because they lower their head on a pull. Like, really? These guys are 6'7", they have to lower their head to get down to the linebacker. Like, I don't understand I get the intent of this rule, but I think it's going to be an absolute disaster, and I hate the targeting rule in college football. It's one of the worst applied rules in football across all levels. Also, one other thing there, I know they talked about changing the pass interference rule. I don't know if changing is the right decision. I do think that you need to get all the refs together and make it so it's better implemented the way it is now. That's part of these things with, like, let's make a new law, let's make a new rule. Or how about we just implement the ones we have in place right now correctly? It's crazy. Like, a lot of the laws or rules we have on the books for either life or sports, if you just implement them correctly in the way they're supposed to be implemented, there's no issues. But they're implemented wrong all the time. So it's almost like, whoa, so we're gonna use it wrong, so we have to change a new rule and be more complicated and stuff like that. It's like, or just be like, you know what, if they're hand fighting, don't throw a flag for pass interference. If there's an incompletion in a Patriots game, don't throw an automatic pass interference call, because you know what, it's Tom Brady, so it's gotta be pass interference. I've seen it happen so many times. It's mind-boggling. I don't want to see this happen. It's like, if you have the 15-yarder, I know people are afraid of, it's a 50-yard pass downfield, and Mahomes to Tyreek Hill, and the corner just grabs Tyreek Hill. It's like, why would I let him have a touchdown, 15-yard penalty? I'm already beat. If he can grab Tyreek Hill, that is, if he's not beat by 10 yards. So I think the pass interference call should stay as it is. I think they need to be implemented better, and the referees need to, I don't know. I know it's hard. It's in real time, but at the same point, some of these are really ticky-tack, and then the other ones will be blatant and they'll let it go. It's like, consistency is all we ask for from the NFL officiating. Just be consistent in your calls, and we'll have no problems. Or at least I won't. Like, you know what? If you're consistent with it, if you're going to allow more hand fighting, let them know before the game. It's like, you know what? We're going to allow a little more contact in the secondary. Great. And also, don't change your call from the first quarter to the fourth quarter, because it's hard to adjust that for the player. That's just where I'm at right now with the NFL. Also, Odell Beckham Jr., I don't think he gets traded. I know they're thinking about trading him. My thing is, you're not getting 2 first-round picks for Odell Beckham Jr. You're just not. Have you seen what the veteran players are going for this year in the trade market? Cracker Jacks, maybe, if you're lucky. Michael Bennett, Marcus Peters, others. Like, every single veteran trade we've had this offseason, you're like, they got him for that? That's it? So the fact that they think they're going to get 2 first-round picks out of Odell Beckham Jr. is insane. Not happening. If I'm the Browns, I will not trade for Odell Beckham Jr. from the 4th pick. First of all, if you think Josh Gordon is going to be able to stay off suspension, that's one good receiver. Oh, you also trade for Jarvis Landry for Nichols, another guy you traded for nothing. You'd be fine at receiver. You don't need another receiver. I get Landry, Beckham, and Gordon would be a great receiver trio. But it's not enough balls to go around between those 3 guys. You have to put a rookie quarterback in there and be like, or Tyrod Taylor. Really? That's what you want, Cleveland? No, get a good running back with the 4th pick. Get Saquon Barkley. Get a running back who can carry the load a little bit there and make your offense a little more balanced. I see what the Rams could trade for him, but at the same point, it's like, do they need him? No. Do they want to ruin their salary cap for that? I don't think so. So I don't know who's going to trade for him. I don't know who has the equity the Giants are looking for in a trade for him. So it'll be interesting to see how much they actually get for Odell Beckham Jr. And if they're going into a full rebuild or not. I mean, if they could trade him to the Browns, I would. From the Giants, you get the second and the fourth pick. You can get a quarterback if you need to build for the future, and Barkley or Chubb. Great. You already helped your roster out automatically. Receivers are a little bit overrated. I like Odell Beckham Jr. He's a really good receiver. He's the second best in the league right now, behind Antonio Brown. I know Julio Jones has something to say about that too. But that's the top 3, in my opinion, in the league right now. But I wouldn't trade for a top 5 pick for him. Just wouldn't. Especially with the talents at the top of this draft, I would not do that if I'm the Browns. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with the Odell trade. I just don't think I don't see anybody trading for him because I don't think he's valuable enough to trade for at this point. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with the Odell Beckham Jr. trade. I'm trying to think of other stuff happening in the NFL right now. Jim Kelly had surgery to remove oral cancer again, so hopefully Jim Kelly is okay. Former Bills quarterback, so hopefully he's fine. Draft's coming up in less than a month, so we'll have all that reaction on the Friday after. Now, the Chiefs do not have a first-round pick because of the trade from Mahomes last year, but Mahomes is a pretty good first-round pick, so that's fine there. That's kind of where we're at right now, so I think it's difficult to trade Odell Beckham Jr. I think it's difficult to sign Colin Kaepernick. I think it's difficult to sign Johnny Manziel, but I think it's easier to sign Johnny Manziel to a low-risk deal than it is to trade for Odell and pay him. That's one thing that's always also interesting here is people are like, oh, just a draft pick. Like, yes, but you also get a draft pick and a player under team control for 5 years on low money. Maybe the 5th year is high money. Maybe. So if you have at least 4 years of low money control of a good player compared to Odell Beckham Jr. at high money for a few years and he's a volatile guy. That's just kind of where I look at it. If you get Saquon Barkley for 4 really good years at low money and you can supplement your roster with other talent, great. It's a salary cap league, people. You can't. I know in Madden, it's a great deal to trade for Odell Beckham Jr. It's a great deal anytime you can do that. But it's not that easy in the NFL. It's just not. So I'm going to take a break. When I come back, I'm going to talk about the NBA. The playoffs are coming up next. So we'll get to that next here on Friday Take. You're listening to KZLX LP, Maryville. And welcome back into Friday Take. I am Devin Albertson doing the show solo today for Friday Take. And it's time to go to the NBA now. I know baseball just started opening day was yesterday, but I don't have a whole lot to say about that right now. We'll have more to talk about that with the weekend sports kickoff. But I'm going to talk about what's happening in the NBA. Playoffs start on April 14th. That's in 2 weeks. Regular season ends April 11th. So a lot to talk about here over the next couple of weeks for the NBA. Right now, the Eastern Conference playoffs. The 1 seed would be Toronto, followed by the 2 seed Boston, and the 3 seed Cleveland Cavaliers. 4 seed would be the 76ers, and the 5 seed the Pacers. All 5 of those teams have clinched a playoff spot. The final 3 spots goes to the Wizards, Heat, and Bucks. And right now, the Bucks are 5 games up on the Detroit Pistons for that final spot, with only 7 games to go. So the 8 teams in the playoffs in the East are pretty much set in stone, is where they're going to be at right now. I think Toronto pretty much has the 1 seed locked up in the Eastern Conference, and Boston has the 2 seed locked up. Cleveland, Philadelphia, and Indiana are fighting for 3 through 5. Washington, Miami, and Milwaukee are fighting for 6 through 8. So that's kind of where we're at right now for the NBA playoffs. In the Eastern Conference side, on the Western Conference side, the Houston Rockets have clinched the 1 seed in the Western Conference, 7 games up on Golden State with 7 to go. So congratulations to Houston for clinching the 1 seed in the Western Conference. Golden State right now has clinched a 2 seed. The Portland Trailblazers are the 3 seed right now, 2.5 games up on San Antonio and Oklahoma City at the 4 and 5. New Orleans Pelicans are at the 6. Timberwolves are at the 7, and the Jazz are the final spot in the NBA playoffs right now in the Western Conference with a 42 and 33 record, a game up on the Clippers and 2 games up on the Denver Nuggets. So right now, the Western Conference, still 10 teams available for 8 playoff spots, and the difference between 4 and 10 in the playoffs is about 3.5 games. So a lot of moving can still happen in both conferences and seedings, and the Western Conference, who actually makes the playoff and who misses out. But right now, if the playoff seedings would happen in the East, we'll go back over there. It'd be Toronto versus Milwaukee, which I think would be a really interesting series to see how Giannis would do versus them in a playoff series. I know Toronto's really deep. I think they'd win the series, but I think Milwaukee could give them a run for their money a little bit and push them to 6 or 7 games, because Toronto always struggles in the playoffs anyways. I think Milwaukee is a young team that could get a little better as the year goes on, so maybe they're linked. So I'd be interested to see how Milwaukee played Toronto. It'd be Boston versus Miami. That could get interesting if Kyrie Irving is not there for the series, the first series. Miami's a dangerous team. They're not a team that has a go-to guy on offense. I know they have Whiteside will be back here soon for them, and he's a big force in the middle, but Goran Dragic and other Johnson boys and others, Justice Winslow among others there for Richardson for the Heat. They just have so many guys who can score, and a pretty good coach in Spoelstra, that it's hard to game plan for them and actually stop them off offensively because they have so many options. Sorry, so it's interesting to see what the Miami Heat could do versus the Boston Celtics, who can't score really, especially if Kyrie Irving is not in the lineup. So that could be interesting there with Boston and Miami in the first round. The 3-6 would be Cleveland versus Washington, which had been a couple years ago. It's been a really fun series, but John Wall's been out for Washington, and they just don't have the firepower to win. I know the Cavs have struggled defensively, but I think the Cavs would win that series pretty easily there. And the 4-5 matchup would be the 76ers versus the Pacers. It would be a really fun matchup. I'd like to see how Oladipo does in a playoff series where he's the man there for Indiana. And the 76ers are so young right now, and Embiid right now is scheduled to come back right around the playoffs there with his facial fracture when he ran to Markelle Fultz. But Fultz is back for him as well, as I said. And then they have Ben Simmons as well. So the 76ers are an interesting team. I think it'd be interesting to see them, if they were to get back Indiana, to play Toronto in the second round and see what they could do there. I think the East is shaping up nicely for Cleveland and LeBron. I think they're going to get out of the East this year again. Boston, they're just young, and I think they're a year away. If they get Gordon Hayward back next year, they'll be a force to reckon with in the East. I think Philly's also a year or two away from really contending for a championship. Toronto, I've never believed in the baby dinosaurs. I don't think they're good enough. I don't think they're talented enough or consistent enough to win regularly there in the playoffs. So until their best two players can show me that they can play well at a high level in the playoffs, I don't believe in them. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with them. Because Lowry and DeRozan both really struggle from the field for Toronto. So I have Cleveland coming out of the East still. I know they don't play a whole lot of defense, but when you have LeBron James in the playoffs, I'm going to believe in you in the Eastern Conference, just the way it is. The Western Conference, right now, it'd be Houston versus Utah in the first round. That is a dangerous series for Houston because Utah, they play a real defense. They're well coached with Quinn Snyder. Utah could be a dangerous team. Even they're not the name brand everybody knows, but Utah, solid basketball team, could give issues for Houston. But Houston, they shoot the ball so well from the outside. I think Houston would still win that series, but it could take them 6 games. So that's an interesting look there. If the Timberwolves and Warriors play in the first round and Jimmy Butler comes back along with Curry, Durant, Thompson, Draymond Green for Golden State, you could have 8 All-Stars on the floor at one time. 7 All-Stars, I guess, because you'd have the best players on the court would probably be Durant, Curry. You have Karl Anthony Towns, Klay Thompson, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, and Andrew Wiggins. That's 7 really high-quality players there for each team. So that'd be interesting to see kind of how that series would work itself out between Minnesota and Golden State. I think Golden State would win that series, but I think Minnesota can make it really interesting with the talent they have on the floor, especially if Jimmy Butler comes back and healthy. But right now, Golden State, they have an issue on their hands. I'll go in this real quick. Curry is out with an injury again. His ankles are just not reliable at this point, so it'll be interesting to see how. I think he's going to be back and ready to go for the playoffs, but that's one thing you have to look for with Steph Curry is how his ankles are going to hold up. And then Kevin Durant, for the love of God, stop being ejected from games. Good Lord, hold your emotions in check a little bit. I'm a guy who plays with a lot of emotion when I'm playing basketball, but I've never been ejected from a game, let alone 5 in one season. Come on, man. He got ejected last night for arguing a foul that maybe was a foul. I thought maybe he got fouled, but it's not a big deal if they didn't. Like, he crossed over Giannis Antetokounmpo against the Milwaukee Bucks last night, drove to the lane. Giannis did swipe down, but I think he got most of the ball. And Kevin Durant tried to go up with it, and he missed the layup, and he didn't get hacked. He went to the ground, but I think he was kind of out of control. I don't think he really got pushed. It may have been a foul. I mean, I wouldn't have been mad if they called a foul there, but it wasn't an egregious missed call. I mean, he was just angry for some reason. He just in the ref's face, yelling at him, cussing him out. The ref finally had enough and gave him 2 Ts, and he was gone. And I'm like, Kevin Durant, get it in check, bro. What are you doing? Right now, this team is missing 3 other All-Stars. They need you on the floor to carry the team a little bit here, and you're getting ejected for arguing a foul call before halftime? What? You're cussing the ref out? What are you doing? This is stupid. I don't understand what's going on right now with Kevin Durant and what he's going through right now. It's just the Warriors lead the league in ejections. Part of that is Draymond Green, but it's his first game back from injury too, so I'm not quite sure he's frustrated about. Iguodala exited the game with a sore knee as well, so you have so many key pieces of the Warriors right now banged up or ejected and stuff like that. So, I mean, the worst thing the Cavs have right now is Tyronn Lue's going to rejoin the team as an observer tonight, so that's interesting. But the Warriors are just so much of a mess right now. I think they're still a good team. I think if they get healthy, they could definitely come out of the Western Conference. But right now they look very vulnerable because, 1, they can't stay healthy. 2, they can't keep their emotions in check. I mean, come on now. Figure it out. It's not that hard. Figure it out. So that's one thing I wanted to say there with the Warriors, with Kevin Durant. We've seen this all year. I mean, the Warriors have 10 ejections as a team, and Durant has 5 of them. Really? Now, Curry has at least 1. I think Draymond probably has the rest of them, but at this point, they're relying on some guys who are just not very good to try to carry them to wins. They lost to the Bucks last night by 9, 116-107. Right now, their starting lineup, I guess Draymond was back last night, so it was Cook, McCaw, Durant, Green, and McGee. Wow. Not great there for Golden State for their starting lineup. Off the bench, they had David West, Looney, Iguodala, Bell, Jones. Stotts only played 4 minutes. That's good for him. Livingston and Nick Young. So they're trying to go deep into the well because they're like, we need to play somebody. I think Zaza's finally fallen out of their rotation of players because he's trash and just awful. But yeah, they need Thompson and Curry to get back healthy. And I think the way Steve Kerr's talking, Steph Curry will be out for the first round series. So if they play a team like Minnesota, that could be a tough series for them without Steph Curry. And I know Durant's the better player, but Steph makes that team go. He just does. His ability to stretch the floor is just insane. And it's just so hard to guard him when he's on the floor. So that could be a real detriment to their success in the playoffs if he can't get back healthy. Or one thing with ankle injuries, especially with Steph Curry, if he twists it once, it's so much easier to twist it again. And he has just bad ankles. Just the way it is right now with Golden State. I still think they come out of the West, though, especially if they get healthy. There's a lot of issues with them right now. They've been troubling. The 3-6 game would be Portland versus New Orleans. That'd be an interesting matchup there. You see Damian Lillard versus Anthony Davis. I do like the Trailblazers a lot. I like what they do on offense, especially with their 2 guards, McCollum and Lillard. And I really trust those 2 in the playoffs to put up numbers. The thing with Portland, they need to have production out of Yusuf Nurkic. He has to produce. If they're going to win a playoff series, he has to play well. If he didn't play well, the team has 0 chance because they have no other post play. He has to play well. And he has the ability to put up triple-doubles and be a really good player for him. He's a good passer out of the post. He can score. He can rebound. He's a decent rim protector unless LeBron's coming on like a freight train. So I like Portland. I hope they stay in that 3 seed because I want them to win that first-round series. I think they would versus New Orleans. So interesting to see how they would fare in a playoff series right now. But I do like McCollum and Lillard. Lillard's a stud. McCollum's a really high-octane scorer, so I like what Portland does there a lot. Damian Lillard, a top 5 MVP candidate this year. The 4-5 matchup, San Antonio versus OKC would be interesting. I think the Spurs because I don't trust OKC in the playoffs. First of all, you're a 5 seed with that talent is ridiculous. Westbrook, Paul George, Carmelo Anthony, and Steven Adams, you can't get a top 3 seed in the West? Really? You know why? Because Westbrook's not a fun guy to play with. I'm still going to be on this forever until he finally proves me wrong, which he hasn't yet. I don't trust Russell Westbrook. He puts up big numbers. I don't trust him. He's hard to play with. Hard to win with at this point. So I'd have the Spurs winning that first round series, but I don't think Kawhi's coming back. And the San Antonio Spurs, they're in a mess right now with the whole Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili both ripping on Kawhi Leonard, and Kawhi Leonard saying, I'm not healthy. Just the back and forth there, just really weird going on in San Antonio. You don't see this a whole lot out of the Spurs organization. The fact that it's happening right now is just weird to see. And teams out of the playoffs, the Clippers, I don't think they're very good, actually. And the Nuggets, they have Jokic, but other than that, I don't really believe in the rest of the roster. So they really struggle on the defensive end. They allow 108 points per game, which is not great. So it'll be interesting to see how they progress into the future. But right now, I think the top 8 is pretty much going to be the top 8 going to the playoffs. For the NBA right now, I would vote for LeBron for MVP, but I'm not upset people are voting for James Harden because I think James Harden is deserving. I think he's deserved a couple of MVPs by this point in his career. I thought Steph Curry's first MVP was robbery, and it should have went to James Harden. And I thought last year Westbrook's MVP should have went to James Harden as well. I think he should have 2 MVPs at this point. Even the one that Steph Curry won by the media, the players voted. They voted for James Harden because he was a better player that year. He just was. I don't understand how they gave it to Steph Curry that year. I know he dazzled and everything like that, but then Steph Curry won the unanimous the next year, and that was ridiculous. And then last year, just because Westbrook averaged a triple-double, if he would have had 9.8 rebounds a game, they wouldn't have voted for him because he didn't have a triple-double. Are you kidding me? Who cares if a guard gets rebounds? I don't. I don't care if a guard gets rebounds. It's not part of his job. That's infuriating. And he just steals them from Steven Adams, so it's not like he's productive rebounds. It's like, no, it's like we would have had those rebounds either way. You just went and got it instead of letting the big man get it. I don't understand. Should I applaud him for that? Like, no, not really. They weren't key rebounds. Like, okay. He jumps in front of Steven Adams and grabs the rebound. It's like, well, Steven Adams had the rebound anyway, so the team was going to get it. So I don't understand that right there for Westbrook. He's not efficient. James Harden is this year. James Harden's been really good this year. And I can see James Harden getting it too because you win 61 games right now with 7 games to go. I definitely see why you get over a 45-win team cap for the Cavs, even though I think LeBron is the best player in the league, and I would vote for the MVP for most years for the best player. And I hate the argument, well, they didn't used to do it that way, or else MJ would have won so many more MVPs. It's like, well, the way they used to do it was stupid, so why do we keep doing it that way? Why do we keep doing it that way if it's, well, why don't you just vote for the best player? Well, we never did that in the past. So, do it right now. Fix the mistakes of the past. I mean, LeBron's earned this MVP. He's been absolutely ridiculous this year in an insane rate efficiency. And he's having his best month of the year, and it's March. In year 15, he's jamming on dudes. He's 33 years old. He's got more minutes on his body than most legends had in their entire career. He's had a whole career. And he's still going strong, leading the Cavs, I think, to the finals again this year. For the umpteenth time. He's going to be in the finals for a decade straight here soon. It's insane what he's doing. He should get the MVP, but I would vote for him, but I understand you voting for James Harden. He's had an outstanding year. He's been crazy efficient, scoring points, passing the ball. That's one of my favorite things about James Harden is his ability to pass. So those two should be the top 2. I swear, I'm going to blow a fuse if LeBron's not a top 2 MVP candidate this year. If he falls below somebody, falls below 2, I swear I'm going to go irate because these voters are like, well, we got to vote for somebody else with LeBron fatigue. No, we just vote for the better players. It's not hard. Vote for the better players. Harden or LeBron should be your MVP. End of story. I get getting some second place and third place votes for Anthony Davis and Damian Lillard. Right now, all the Warrior stars have been hurt too much really for me to vote for them because Curry and Durant have been hurt all year. So in and out of the lineup, so it's hard for me to vote for those guys. Karl Anthony Towns, I can see him getting votes. I can see DeMar DeRozan getting a few votes. Those are down the list. Giannis Antetokounmpo, maybe a third place for me. Maybe. The only thing with his team is they're hovering around 500 right now. They would be out of the playoffs in the West. That's just where I'm at right now. It's like it's got to be LeBron or Harden at this point. The king or the beard. That's the only 2 votes you can get. That's the only 2 votes that are acceptable at this point. And this can be it for the show today. I kind of rambled on with myself there for a little bit about certain things that kind of drive me crazy in the sports media. But I'm going to remind you that today at noon and at 3 we'll have baseball games at Bearcat Field. Broadcasting live from there at noon and 3. The first game at noon. Kramer Sandstone will be doing the play-by-play with Austin Hall doing the color. In the second game, Austin Hall will be on it by himself doing this broadcast solo. Weekend Sports Kickoff will be on today, but not on radio, just TV, Facebook Live through KNWT, Channel 8. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at X106_sports. We'll give you the link to that as soon as the show starts. We'll give you the link so you can watch us there. Make sure you comment on the show and see what's going on there. So, I'm going to sign off for the day. Hope everybody had a good Friday morning with me. I will see you this afternoon on the Weekend Sports Kickoff here on KWT Facebook Live, but you listen to Friday Take here on KZLX.